Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jason Frentsos with Family Radio, and I'm here today with one of our favorite artists and hymn writers on Family Radio. He and his wife, Kristen, have given us songs like His Mercy is More, The Lord is My Salvation, and Christ Alone, and many more. Hymns that are so rich in doctrine, rich in theology, and speak so powerfully to our generation today. Keith Getty, thank you for being here.
It's always a privilege. Thank you so much indeed, guys.
Sure. Now, Keith, this is clearly a very unique time, very unusual time for us all. Folks across America isolated in their homes from this pandemic, this coronavirus. You're in your home in Tennessee. I'm here in New Jersey. Our kids are at home. They're running around 24/7. And it just feels like not only our houses, but our entire world is just upside down. So first, how are you doing? How is your family holding up in all of this? Are you guys pulling through okay?
Well, thank you for asking. It's I think the truth is all of us are a little nervous at this point. I don't know personally don't notice it, but if I think of how I might have been 3 months ago, certainly, this is new. We as a family have personally loved it. I think we were about the first family in America to quarantine. We're in our 19th day of full quarantine, so we haven't gone past our gate in 19 days. So we went full on pretty early. In part, one of our kids got strep throat, so it kind of forced the issue.
Okay.
It's been a really rich time. I mean, it's definitely exhausting. The old joke that everybody who doesn't have kids right now is trying to work out what 10 hobbies they want to take up, and every person who's got kids is wanting to know what 10 minutes they're going to have to breathe. Do you know what I mean? And so,
yeah, for sure.
And but it's been a rich time. Kristen and I always thought we were very, very deliberate and thoughtful parents, and we've realized that this has exposed us for some of the gaps in our parenting, which has been good and rich. And I think we're always better people when we think about life and death.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the one. It is one of the bizarre. It's one of the bizarre forms of unlogic that exists in the 21st century so-called progressive mind. Is that all of life is meant to pander to this idea that death is something that never happens and you never think about.
Right.
Whereas actually, even a basic atheist should be able to acknowledge with common sense that at least studying what happens when we die needs to be core, because it's the one absolute statistic.
Sure.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if I'm going to live till I'm 70 or 40, 74 or 47, or I really don't, or no promise there, but we know we're going to die. And so that's something that all of us have to be conscious of today. And as we listen and as we consider what does that mean for us, and what does that mean for those who we love the most?
Right.
And that, above all other things, should shape our day and order our steps.
Sure. And who are we looking to, right, for that hope and that hope when we are faced with death? What is our hope in this time?
Yeah.
Right? Who do we look to?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The
Heidelberg Catechism says it well.
Yeah. What is our hope? What is our hope in life and death? Yeah, that's right. And so many people, they're missing that connection while we're at home now. I mean, do you have any recommendations for people who are missing out on that fellowship? They want to remain connected with their church family. How can they keep that bond of fellowship strong, keep it going in these coming months?
Well, I think there's a number of things. I mean, I'm sure there are people who can speak better than I can. I'm not a pastor or a psychologist, but first of all, we have to accept that this is what the way life is. I own 2 event companies, and no matter how hard we've worked for the last 15 years, we have to accept the fact that many of our partners are going bankrupt, that all our greatest plans, have just fallen apart, and there's nothing we can do. We did nothing wrong. It's just circumstantial. And so all of us have to accept that, the Lord is in control, that He is our hope, and so we don't blame people. We can't be getting bitter. I think in one sense we want to use this opportunity to it's a golden opportunity to reprioritize. I don't think, left to my own devices, I would ever have given myself this type of sabbatical that we've now been given to reorder our steps, and whereas Christ, even in the midst of his 3 years of public ministry that changed the world, would constantly retreat just to order his mind and his spirit. We don't do that. And so I think that's a really important thing. And obviously, I think singing is huge. Even in our own home, singing to ourselves, singing to our families, filling our homes with songs of the Lord. I think that is so important because where music speaks above, say, just listening to a series of talks on Romans, is music actually speaks much deeper to the psyche. It's interesting. A friend of mine had the privilege of sitting in one of the leading music companies' board meeting on with their shareholders last week, and he was saying he was curious to know how this was going to go. Because obviously in 1 week you've had the collapse of the stock market for a publicly traded company. Number two, you've had half the artists in the country who have had a tour cancelled, which is massive for launching projects and for their income. Number three, we have basically the CD has basically collapsed. The compact disc is basically collapsing. And in all this, he was going, what are they going to deal with this week? And almost the entire meeting didn't even touch those subjects. Most of that meeting was not about the stock market, retail, events being cancelled, but it was actually about mental health. And the issue is that for people who are lost and don't know Christ, mental health is going to be a huge issue because they are desperately needing something. But it's a chance for all of us to say, let's look to our friends who don't know the Lord, and let's get close in whatever way we can. But secondly, there's a secondary warning to all of us, because we're in day 19. There's a strong chance we may be here for 119 days or more. And if that's the case, how are we sustaining ourselves? And so I think let's not just be. It's very easy sometimes as Christians to try and be right. I think there's more than just being right here.
Sure. Yeah. And speaking of mental health, so many of us are feeling anxious, we're feeling alone, and we're asking that question, Lord, like David did, Lord, how long? I'm not sure I can endure this for much longer. I mean, even it's only been 19 days, but just thinking of, will it be another 2, 3, 4 months? And asking the Lord, are you there? Are you with us through this? People are feeling a tremendous amount of doubt of the Lord's presence. So, I mean,
and questions are so important, aren't they?
Yeah.
The psalmist wasn't scared to ask questions, and
sure.
So we shouldn't be scared to ask questions.
Right.
And even asking questions of our friends, how are you? What's going on in your head? And or how can I, whatever, how can I help? Whatever, indeed the Heidelberg Catechism also, we talked about this, and it's is questions and answers. So I think the questions we ask are very important, and the courage to be honest is so important for Christians. The psalmist is very honest, but the psalmist's questions and the psalmist's laments are very different to, say, the lament of a singer-songwriter, or the lament of a country song, or the lament of a rapper and his anger. Because all of those folks, their lament can never go higher or deeper than themselves.
Sure.
Whereas the Psalms of Lament are the opposite. They bring it all out there. It's pretty rough sometimes, pretty rough reading for us 21st century sophisticates that think we're emotional, but actually only prescribe certain emotions. And but actually what the Psalms do is they begin with this, but then they turn to what we know about God. And so they lift our eyes to the one who is from everlasting to everlasting.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that's what's exciting. And that's what singing can do. That's what the Psalms can do.
So speaking of singing, Keith, you and your family have started to do live hymn sings in your home. Something you're doing Tuesday nights, right, at 7:50?
It was kind of an accident. It just began because we were having just the worst St. Patrick's Day of our lives. I mean, St. Patrick's Day in quarantine. Are you kidding me? I mean, could there be anything more depressing than St. Patrick's Day in quarantine? So I was just being miserable and being just a nightmare husband. And Kristen says, we got a dinner time, and Kristen was ready to sock it to me. She was so fed up with me. And so she goes, let's do a hymn sing. And I went, okay. And she goes, why don't we record it? And I went, why don't we record it? Why don't we live stream it? And I went, Kristen, leave people alone. It'll be rubbish. Our kids can't really sing. And we've only got an iPhone. I have to set it on the piano so the balance will be wrong. And with no cameras. She goes, no, I think we need to do this. I think this is important. It'll encourage some folks out there. There's just, Kristen was so concerned basically about people who are old and lonely. And she said, let's just do this. And just for a few songs. So we did Be Thou My Vision and all things bright and beautiful. What grace is mine, question, hope, and life and death, and in Christ alone.
Yeah.
And anyway, but the response was just unpredictably amazing. It was just one of those moments. And by the end of the week, our girls had been on Fox News national television more times than we've ever been in 20 years. And so it propelled interest. It propelled interest around the country.
Yeah, I mean, we get to see your family. It's great seeing your daughters singing along. They're doing the hand motions. I mean, my children love doing that too over Christmas time. Jesus, the joy of the highest heaven. My children are doing all this, the hand motions.
But it's all my wife. They said the idea for this thing was all my wife, and all the hand motions are hers as well. So,
but this is something that you were doing. I mean, we can tell. I mean, this is nothing new for them, right? For your children, it's clear watching that family worship is foundational in the Getty home, right?
It is. I mean, but it's not fancy. It's not. We don't.
Doesn't have.
I mean, for us, it's there's some good night. We basically Kristen started 4 years ago teaching our girls a hymn every month. So it might be Holy, Holy, Holy. It might be I Stand Amazed in the Presence. It might be a modern hymn like In Christ Alone, or His Mercy is More, or He Will Hold Me Fast. And so, so we just started teaching them these mostly old hymns, because we wanted to give them songs that they would carry for life. So obviously, if we know a song has lasted a few generations, that probably tells you something about the odds, So Kristen, we started teaching them these songs, and some nights we had beautiful times of singing together and talking about the words and talking about what stronger than darkness, new every morn means, or what God being holy means, or whatever it is. And it's been a brilliant way to teach the girls and let them encourage them to ask questions as they go. What do you not understand? What do you not mean? What are you not sure about? And so you get singing and you just get chatting, and but other nights we ran upstairs exhausted, cross, and shoved a toothpaste in their mouth, set them in the toilet, threw them into their bed, said a prayer, said the Lord's Prayer, sang the hymn, and told them to be quiet. It wasn't always great. It was just, but we just did it it was a good habit. That's how that's how we sing you to sleep at night time. That's how we get you to sleep. And so they're used to it. I mean, we thought about trying to train them at singing, but they're not into that. And so they just have fun, and sing along. And Eliza's a very serious Christian girl, which has been brilliant to watch her growing in her faith and stuff. So anyway, it's not something we've not really put our kids out there at all, so we just feel but because this was such a surprise, we felt it's right to keep this for this season in life. This is something, maybe just the joy of children is something that people need to see.
Absolutely.
Whether it's children themselves, whether it's parents of children who just are bored, or whether it's grandparents who just need the joy of childlike enthusiasm to encourage them in what must be just an extraordinarily fearful time.
Without a doubt. Yeah. Now, one of the songs that we're hearing your children sing during the Tuesday night hymn sing is your new Easter song, right? And you alluded to it earlier, Christ our hope, life and death. Can you tell us a little bit about that? It's a brand new song.
Sure. It took a long time to write. We obviously, the Getty Music Publishing Company, we represent and publish a whole family of modern hymn writers. And we took 4 of them to Ireland last year with us for a week. We had a brilliant time, a lot of fun on the north coast of Ireland, at home there. And 2 of them wanted to write a hymn about hope. 2 of them wanted to write a hymn on the Heidelberg Catechism. And the 2 with the hope idea had a better kind of tune to get started. And I kind of rewrote the tune and added a chorus to it. And then Matt Boswell had wanted to do something in the Heidelberg Catechism, which he'd been using to help his little son in bed at night with fears. And this is an important point, because, looking back at my life in the last 10 years, I got a bunch of regrets, but none greater than that I didn't do even better with my kids last thing at night. Do you know what I mean? And just lying there. The patience to listen to your kids late at night actually brought him perhaps his greatest song. So he tried to explain the Heidelberg Catechism, and the kid kind of glazed over. And then he went, okay, I'll teach him to sing it. So he wanted to get him to sing it. And so now he sings it, and so now he remembers it,
Sure.
That's the thing, Kristen, we used to worry about the security of our girls. And so when we ever go on tour, Kristen would always tell them our phone number or give them a copy of it, and they'd lose it. So she finally did this kind of sing rap, which she does about our phone number. I'll not do it for you because I don't want everyone phoning my wife. But our girls all know mom's phone number. So they have that security, because singing helps us remember.
Yeah.
And not only that, even deeper than that, singing sings into the soul, it sings into the heart.
Yeah.
It's how we're made. It's not a weakness in our character. It's a strength in our character.
I saw the behind the scenes video on YouTube.
Oh, the song, how the guys wrote the song.
Right. How they wrote the song. And you mentioned that Jordan Coughlin, his son, is battling leukemia.
That's
and what
right.
an appropriate time for this song to encourage his son.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And, if there's one thing I've learned out of it if there's one thing I've learned out of both these projects is just invest more in your kids, and indeed learn out of this season. This is the key thing. This is what's important, and it's so important. And so we're thankful. We're thankful that in the midst of this season and the fear, and the struggles for those involved in our event company, whether it's the touring company, whether it's the sing company, that actually, because for those guys, it's just horrific right now, but in the midst of all this, God is opening these wonderful opportunities for us to share about His goodness and encourage families at home. None of us would have chosen this sabbatical, and it is a chance. I was talking with the CEO of Focus on the Family and Family Life today last week, and they were saying they will never again in their lives have this chance. And if that's at a parachurch organizational level, then so for all of us in the nuclear family. Do you know what I mean? It's we will never have this chance again.
No.
So let's make the use of every day of it.
I keep hearing you say this is it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. These next few months is when we have to reconnect with our families, to share Christ with others, maybe on the internet, however we can. And also that the church may come out stronger than ever through this, right? I mean, in no way is the church out of business. I think I heard you say that.
Yeah, well, no, we hope so. I mean, that's it. You have to think, I mean, in a generation that have so neutralized death, do you know what I mean? And ultimately, in neutralizing death, neutralize everything. The classic hymns, just in the area I work, classic hymns, about 75% or so tend to talk about death. It might be our death. It might be heaven or hell. It might be God's judgment. It might be peace with God. It might be when the end of life comes. But that was almost all the last verses. You'll note talk about eternity. And less than 5% of worship songs talk about eternity. Less than 5%. So if you're switching from a 75% worship grammar diet to 5%, that's an extraordinary change of priority. And the problem is, if death doesn't matter, life doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you wonder, I mean, how do you think God is using this in people's lives? What are people learning from this trial? What do you think they can glean from this?
Well, gosh, it's a wonderful question, and I wouldn't ever presume to know. I mean, for us, I think it's when we think about death and think about the eternal every day.
Yeah.
It reminds us. It helps us to order our steps. What I mean? It helps us to
days,
right? There's just so many things that just don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
I and my idolatrous heart have given far too much time to, far too much emotional space to. And ultimately, when I give them too much space, I'm not giving the right stuff space. So that's I think it was John Calvin called the heart an idol factory. So we, so I think that's just terrible. That's a terrible thing. So I think just that primarily be my first thing. I would say secondarily, I think when you go through challenges like this, we naturally become more dependent on God. I think I got a pretty strong theology of dependence on God. I think I've got, we worked hard to grow a good quiet time, but I still think if you took a creature from outer space and they followed me around for a day, they would find it hard to be persuaded that I really was dependent on God, and so
sure,
that's true. And then I think the family stuff is just, the family and I think, our expectations are more focused now. We have to be more focused in our day, more deliberate.
Right.
And then fourthly, I'd say the family importance of raising the next generation as well.
Sure. Yeah, really bringing that hope and the joy back to the family, because that doesn't come naturally.
Yeah.
I mean, for any of us, especially as dads, we have to be intent on creating that joy in our homes, right? I mean,
Exactly.
how any way you can can help us to help folks keep the joy in their home. Anything that you're doing in your home to keep it joyful.
Yeah, is that a question?
Yeah, how can we bring joy into the family and in the home again? You know.
No, absolutely. No, absolutely. And I think, but I think a lot of it is just it's the basic stuff you've talked about. It's devotional life. It's filling your home with songs of the Lord, whether it's in the background or not. That brings a joy.
Yeah.
I think a devotional life that looks at life and death gives us a joy to be alive and know the Lord.
Sure.
And secondly, whether it's deliberate singing or good songs with the Lord on in the background, that helps. But I think also it's like anything else. Anything is preparation and planning, and then all of us taking our abilities and creativity and wisdom into that. So the days that I've actually gone out and played on the trampoline with the girls, or had a plan for what we're going to do after dinner, and was able to tell them at lunchtime, here's what we're doing tonight. Those days went better. The days I kind of coasted it, or took too many phone calls, or just cut corners, and a couple of them where we just couldn't help. But most of the time you can. And when I just don't prioritize it, it doesn't go as well. It's there's a degree what you put in, you get out. And so
Sure.
But we've found ways of making parenting easy, I think, and for ourselves rather than good. And
Absolutely.
that's what I'm learning.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, family worship, we really want to encourage that, have our families worshiping the Lord. And the Tuesday night hymn sing, folks, great way to do that. Again, 7:15 Central Time, right? 8:15
Yeah,
Eastern on
you can pick
Facebook
up the words on our website, or you can go to Spotify. If you go to Keith and Chris and Getty Spotify, then you can actually just learn the songs, not our versions. And then afterwards, they're all on YouTube. If you go to the Keith and Chris and Getty YouTube
Great.
site, they're all available there. So.
Yeah, folks, please do that. Great way to enhance your time with the Lord with your family. Keith Getty, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's an absolute privilege. Thank
Lord
you all.
bless you.
And thank everybody at family.
All right, thank you.